lights up on stage, and we see my scene partner, Tim, and myself. We're in a quaint little coffee shop in Bloomington, Indiana, and when I look out in front of me, I see 60 people who have come to watch our improv comedy performance tonight. This is the first scene of the evening, and Tim has established that we are sisters, not uncommon in improv comedy to play a gender that's different from your own. We have also established that we are hosting a book club party this evening. Tim's character is talking about how excited he is because it's going to be the most fabulous book club party ever. In doing so, his character repeatedly refers to my character's name as Susan. About halfway through the scene, I'm about to share an idea that I think will really help launch this book club party when I mistakenly refer to Tim's character as Susan. As I'm taking in the confusion in the air, someone in the front row of the audience screams out, "Hey, Susan's your character's name, not his." And cut. So clearly I've made a mistake in this scene. But isn't this exactly what we want in business? That our customers are so engaged in the story that we're telling that they're willing to go to whatever lengths possible to make sure we're successful, even if that means shouting out in the middle of a live performance. I've been performing improvisational comedy for several years now. How many of you have seen an improv comedy show before? Maybe you've seen Whose Line Is It Anyway? Great, several of you. For those who haven't, let me explain that improv comedy is a performance-based art form where scenes are created spontaneously. In other words, in the moment. There's no script and there are no props. So improvisers really have to essentially react in the moment. So some of you might be thinking, that sounds great, put me in there. Others of you might be thinking, that sounds really scary. And when I started taking improvisational comedy classes, I fell into that second camp. I was scared. See, I was a management consultant at the time. I was working for a really great firm. And I was really good at developing scripts, and even better at becoming attached to those scripts. That wasn't winning me any points with my clients. I also walked around with this heavy weight on my shoulders, largely because I held this belief that I needed to go at it alone. Somehow I needed to come up with the right solution. My resistance to being open to new ideas essentially led me to improv comedy. So when a friend of mine mentioned classes as a way to help, I signed up immediately. That first class turned into a second, and a third, and a fourth. And something really interesting started to shift, both for me on stage and off stage. I became more open and receptive to ideas and engaging my team and the people around me. I was more willing to co-create. And what I observed is that the end result was so much more interesting and impactful than anything I created on my own. My passion now is helping businesses innovate and collaborate more effectively through the use of improv principles. In business, we hear terms like co-creation, personal emotional connection. So I'm really curious, what lessons does improv comedy have to offer the next generation of business leaders as it relates to innovating and collaborating more effectively? I'd like to offer the improviser's mindset as one path to help get us there. So in the scene I referenced a minute ago, the audience member provided what's called an offer in improv comedy. An offer is any piece of information that informs the current reality of the scene and what's happening. Offers can come in all shapes and sizes, and they can come from a variety of sources. In that situation, an audience member, as well as the actors on stage. In improv, offers are gold. The reason that they're gold is because we have nothing else to work from. And in that way, they serve as the engines of collaboration. So if Tim provided an offer regarding a book club party, I have a couple ways as a scene partner that I can respond. I can either block it, or I can accept it. If I choose to block it, I might simply say, no, we're not at a book club party. Pretty clear. Might cause a little confusion with the audience. I can also use something that's a little bit more sneaky. It's called the yes, but, right? So we've all probably experienced this in business in our lives. What happens in a collaborative creative setting if we use yes, but, is the original idea sort of vanishes, and we're on to the next idea. Now, I have this vision that on planet Earth somewhere, there's a field, acres and acres, of yes, but ideas that are waiting to be harvested that never had a chance to sort of get life. And if you're the one that finds it, you're going to experience fame and riches beyond your wildest dreams. So essentially, blocking halts collaboration in its tracks. So improvisers take on a mindset of accepting. And it's simply not enough to say yes. Yes, we're at a book club party. Yes. Yes. Because what happens in that situation is I put an awful lot of pressure on my scene partner to come up with the next thing. And we're not really truly collaborating. The improviser's mindset is really about yes and. And yes and is broken down into a couple things. The first is I recognize that we are, in fact, building this thing, this story together. And if I believe that to be true, then I really also believe that what we create together is going to be even better than what we can create on our own. So it's really a fundamental shift in thinking from what is my individual contribution to what does the scene or the group or the project need from me now. Del Close, one of the originators of improv comedy, put it so brilliantly when he said, "We are all supporting actors." So let me clarify a point. Yes and as a mindset does not necessarily mean agreement. Let's say I have a colleague, let's just call him Frank, and he comes to me and he says, "Beth, I deserve a promotion." Now, I may not actually agree with that, but if I accept that that's the reality of what the scene is, I can start to build from that. I might yes and Frank's enthusiasm for his role, for the corporation, for his development. Frank, in turn, will likely feel more affirmed, seen, recognized. We've all worked with yes and people. They sort of spread positivity and affirmation. I might yes and the fact that Frank needs more of a challenge, and if I yes and that, we can create together potentially a development path that gets him to promotion. So the improviser's mindset is essentially hunting for, looking for those offers to be able to accept and yes and. Now you might be thinking, okay, this sounds great. I'm a business owner though, I'm a manager. I need to block because I have to protect my time and I have to protect cost. Fair enough. My response to that, of course, as you guess, is yes and. So my sister told me a story about my 3-year-old nephew, Owen, her son. And essentially, Owen was outside, they live in California, in the backyard, and he had the hose. And he was spraying it all over the backyard, having the time of his life. And my sister comes outside and she sees this, and she says, "Owen, stop." And Owen sort of stops what he's doing and he looks at her and he says, "Mommy, why?" And she pauses and she thinks, yeah, why? He's not actually harming anything. In fact, he's helping me because he's watering the plants. I won't have to do that later. So the point is this, it's not that blocking does not have a time and a place, because it does. But when we start to block subconsciously or by default, we might be missing an important offer that's coming our way. So let me conclude by bringing us back to that quaint little coffee shop in Bloomington, Indiana. The audience member has so kindly reminded me that I've made a mistake, right? I called Tim's character Susan when he had already called mine Susan, and we are sisters. So lights up on stage. Tim looks at me and he says, "You know, I admire our mother so much. To love an actor's ability as much as she loves Susan Sarandon's, that she would name all her 6 daughters after her, it's admirable." I just hope I can use the same good judgment when I'm a mother someday. So Tim provided in that scene the ultimate yes and what ensued was kind of a quirky and fun and interesting scene about daughters following in their mother's footsteps. So whether you choose to accept more than block, or block a bit more consciously, or view the world through a lens of offers, I guarantee you, by cultivating the improviser's mindset, you will experience something greater than what you ever imagined. And if you're lucky, a scene about 6 daughters named Susan. And scene.